In a quick nutshell, how can you tell if something is scholarly or academic? And what does that mean? So there are criteria that we can use, and I've written some of them out here, but there's a lot of different other criteria too. Like if it feels like you're having fun reading it, if it's entertaining, it might not be scholarly. Or if it feels like it's like really politically inflammatory, it might not be scholarly. On the other side, sometimes things that are very serious can be not scholarly. So let me give you some rules of thumb to work with. Here's some criteria, like who's the author, who bothered to publish this, can we tell what the purpose is, did they have evidence that they're citing, is there any evidence of bias? Let me show you some examples. We'll run the gamut from absolutely maybe no scholarly value all the way up to high scholarly value. Okay, so my topic is chickens. First one, a piece of data that's just sitting in my Google Drive with no title, no context, no author. All of those things we call metadata, so we can attribute it. So if Hitler said 763 chickens, it would be like, oh man, I'm feeling feelings about that data. But if it was the Pope that said it, or the Dalai Lama, or if it was like some Nobel Prize winning chemistry person, the author matters, doesn't it? So if it's just a piece of data, it really is, it's not scholarly. This is just like a bit. This is worthwhile knowing, but we never go down this far. We wouldn't cite this, but it's worth knowing that this is like where we start. Next one, photograph. Unattributed photograph from my desktop. You and I culturally probably know that this is a chicken, and it's a beautiful photograph, and we could probably put it into Google Images and find out where it came from, right? But if it doesn't have an author, who knows who published it? Who knows who created it? Is this an AI photo or not? I don't know, but it's a chicken. So a lot of people often will put like decorations in presentations. In higher ed, we're not allowed to do that. You have to attribute everything. Next one, if suddenly somebody in a meme puts or attempts to tie in cultural or community meaning, so forget the flowers, the times have changed, I'm giving away a chicken. This could be like interpreted a variety of ways. Some people might go, oh, you're giving me a pet chicken. Or some people might be like, oh, this is terrible. They're giving them a chicken to eat. If you are kind of wondering where it's coming from, that might be evidence of bias. In a scholarly work, they're going to be telling you all the context so we can look at things objectively. Kind of like a doctor coming into the office and looking at like a broken arm and going, there's evidence that you might be experiencing pain. We got to fix this up, but there's certain levels. When this one just kind of like suggests chaos. Next one, if somebody bothers to publish something, that's where you have like that editor or the publisher. So this is a news channel. This is kind of general, so they have some expertise. They know their community. This is somebody smuggling rare chickens into the United States. Oh no, oh shame, shame. And we can figure out where this is. I'm guessing it's somewhere near Texas. But you can get information. You can get probably an author. Do they have an author? There we go. So we can find out who the author is. This is the first one where we know who the author is. Next step up, if we have somebody publishing it, do they represent more than just general interest or entertainment? That's where we get into like trade magazines and hobby magazines. So this is like somebody who would be a hobbyist where they're doing chickens. I do this. We have our lovely chickens in the backyard, and we love them, and we're not eating them, just in case you needed to know that. Publications like this cater to a constituency that has a little bit more expert knowledge about what's going on than the general news. We can go up to an industry. So this is a poultry industry. I would hesitate to call it a magazine, maybe like a journal. So these are people who have like a fiscal or monetary stake in something. And so they're talking about avian flu or all sorts of different issues going on with the industry, maybe effective solutions, maybe ethics. This is much more invested in the facts and having it not be biased because their constituency relies on this for their business. So this has like a higher professional level. Let's go to scholarship next. What's the top level? Oh, and by the way, these would probably cite their evidence. So they would probably like a government official said, or a state official said, or scientists said. So they start referring to evidence. Whereas chicken magazines, it might be all case studies where we tried this with our chickens. And this one is just like, well, someone told us this is what happened. So it's the eyewitness. And this is just a meme that somebody threw up there. So let's do a search. So we're in an academic library. I'm going to do a search for chickens. I'm going to go into the catalog, and I want to find peer-reviewed. This is like the purest, most refined scholarship guarantee. Peer-reviewed journals just means that not only is it published by somebody who cares about what you're publishing, and their audience really cares about it, they're just looking at the data itself, and they kind of clip the author off to see if the evidence supports what you're looking for. Let's look at an example. I'm going to apply a filter, and I'm going to go to, so this is from The Science of Total Environment, delivery of this thing via chicken diet. So this is obviously about chicken livestock management. I can gather from that. But when we look at this, there's no advertising. There's none of this kind of like an appeal to like a lifestyle or an appeal to ethics or emotion. It's kind of like a doctor coming into an office saying, here we are going to provide the evidence. Here's our authors. Here's their credentials. If you look down, you can see what universities they work for. When you view the PDF of the article, you can see that it's kind of like somebody walking in with a lab coat. You don't want to necessarily, the authors don't want to come across as having an agenda, but they're providing this evidence-based and as objectively as possible. So if you wanted advice, again, from a doctor or a dentist, you don't want them coming in and like trying to sell you something or try and persuade you with fear. They're just going to say, the evidence suggests that you have a compound fracture of your femur. And in the abstract, they'll go through a literature review and they'll provide evidence with the data that they gathered. They'll tell you the instrument that they use. They'll analyze, in this case, maybe the chemistry of that particular thing. And then they'll come up with conclusions. But the conclusions aren't, this is the way it is, but it's the evidence suggests. So if you go way back through the scope of things, oftentimes people are not saying, this is what the evidence suggests. They're like saying, this is how you should think. So in a nutshell, this is Dale, your librarian. What the heck is academic mean?